I've been trying to re-tap a filter thing in a petcock for a Triumph Tiger Cub from 1952, and it's just, what the f***? How did the Brits make motorcycles and rule the world? These things are built like a bag of spanners. It's horrendous. Particularly poor quality spanners as well.
Well, ladies and ungentlemanly gents, welcome to the very first episode of EVD Uncut.
I am Josh of SolidSmack.com.
I'm Adam of CADJunkie.com.
And I am Aldine of Develop3D.
On the last Friday of every month, Josh, Al, and I are going to chat about, well, whatever we want, really.
Yes, EVD Uncut is brought to you by nobody in particular.
All right, for now. So, Al, what do you want to talk about, buddy?
Let's talk a little bit about sub-Ds and nerves. That's always a good one. Modo 601's out. Everyone seems to love it.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to want Brad Pitt to run for president. It's kind of good.
BP for Prez.
What else we got? I guess we better talk about the Stratasys and Object merger. That's a new one yesterday. Ruining my day off
Big
work.
time.
Yeah.
And then, Kickstarter. Let's talk about that because I'm fascinated.
You sound a little bit sarcastic, but I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
Sarcasm's overrated. It's
Well,
an
since we're there, what let's talk about Kickstarter. It seems like, so here's my question. Entrepreneurship and Kickstarter, everybody's talking about Kickstarter. It's this big thing.
All the rage.
I'm not sure if it's entrepreneurship or if it's a glorified Etsy. Is this just a marketplace for silly 3D printed ideas, or, is this an actual new economic engine of some kind?
To me, it seems, I tend to get interested in two things. One is like publishing ventures, because it's always interesting seeing what people are doing, but then there's people doing hard products rather than things made out of dead trees, which is interesting. But it seems like most people are just crowdsourcing funding for tooling, and that's it, and it's pre-orders. I don't really get the whole big thing. Before you sold a product, you tried to sell it, then you paid for the tooling, you took out a loan. These days, you're kind of begging for it. I don't get the whole...
Well, that's why it's successful, because it's that instant gratification for the people who are funding it. You're not waiting for a product to come out, or you're not even concerned that they're going to be successful after they get the product to you. You're just getting something.
Well, the pre-orders thing is really interesting because, in a way, it really is kind of turning things on their head, where it's mixed up the whole risk-reward thing. Because the risk is less because you've got pre-orders. For sure you've got thus and such amount of money, $10,000, $30,000, whatever, to work with. And that's a budget to get you started. On the other side of it is I don't know if the reward is the same. Maybe it is, on that scale.
Do you think it's just a sign of the times, and it's something that's going to phase out, or do you just think that it'll grow?
I don't think it'll
expand?
phase out. There's no way it's going to phase out. I just don't know how much of an impact it's going to have on real business.
Well, here's a thing. I think it's
anything more specific.
Obviously, yes. It's about to become more specific.
He's Googling.
It's
rapidly
affecting.
Googling.
Yes. It's actually affecting like VC and venture capital startups. The money that people are able to raise. They don't have to depend on the startup. The startup model anymore.
So it's kind of like
going out and
the kind of bootstrapping
diluting
everything, which I think is nice. As venture capital just seems like, I don't know, it just seems inherently evil. I like the idea of people order. I don't know. I'm torn. Etsy, I don't get, because it's like Kickstarter's not really like Etsy because there's no knitting, as far as I've seen, which isn't always a good thing, isn't always a bad thing.
I'm sure there's a knitting project on there somewhere.
There definitely
Fund
is.
my knitting.
Yeah, pre-order.
You'll get this nice teapot cozy.
Yeah.
Have you heard any horror stories of people doing stuff on Kickstarter or going horribly wrong? I just wonder if there's any out there. I quite like the idea of starting a parody site called Starter.
There's probably more of those than the ones that are raising $3 million in 4 days.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of the big money, this brand new news just out, hot off the presses, Stratasys and Objet, two big giant players in the 3D printing industry, making big machines for big corporations
Big.
to make big products for big markets.
Corporations. Two
What's
keywords.
what's the deal with this, and does it really matter? I was pretty shocked when I saw it, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, they are going up against 3D systems, pretty much. It's a play against them.
We're going to be a duopoly at this point.
I
Yeah.
do often.
Yeah. Duopoly.
Yeah. You write a little
I don't know
song
what
about
that word means.
Duopoly. I don't know. I'm still working on the melody. It's a new
You need to
thing.
get Bruno Mars
Obviously.
on that. He'd rock it definitely, with his funny little hat. I get why they've done it, because it's two different types of technologies that kind of don't compete, and they're kind of complementary from building out a product range. But then you look at what 3D systems are doing. They're buying service providers and all sorts of seemingly random shit.
All right, Al, you're really into 3D printing technology. Can you explain to us the difference between a Stratasys typical FDM machine and an object printer?
Objects, that's good. Yeah. So Object, it builds with UV light. I can't say it's similar to SLA because 3D systems will probably sue my ass, but it's of that nature. So it's jetting photocurable resins at a very high resolution, whereas the Stratasys machines build with filament that's deposited. I think that's about it. So Stratasys,
Scored it out of an icing bag.
a very, very hot icing bag, as the scars on the back of my hand will account for. So one's good for functional models if you want to beat them up, beat the shit out
That's
of
the
them.
Stratasys models.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you want the ultra high resolution, then you've got the Object machines, and they've got their multi-material polymer polyjet thing.
And they've
which
got
is kinda cool.
their advantage is the resolution. They can do multiple materials at once, but also they tend to be they melt or they warp in the wrong temperature situations. They're not as stable, physically speaking, right?
Actually, it's the Stratasys material that we use for production parts, not even rapid prototyping. I mean, we'd whip out these ducts, on
Ducts?
on a Stratasys.
Ducts?
Ducts, air ducts.
Oh, ducts.
Or whack. Yeah.
So you're printing ducts?
Yeah. We would put ducts on an airplane. Yes. Adam.
Petcocks and ducks.
Air-
You can print them both on
air
Stratasys.
ducts.
What we need is a pet duck, then we're all
Okay.
done. Definitely.
All right. Well, so Creo, CATIA, T-splines, everybody's doing the sub-D thing. Moto seems to be a real hot ticket item in the product design world. It's been around for quite a while, but it's finally starting to pick up steam in product design. That is. What's with sub-D? Why the sudden popularity? Is it a technology thing that just, or is it a critical mass of people that just want to make blobby shapes? What's going on?
I don't think it's necessarily blobby shapes. I think there's a move for more people to define more complex shapes than there ever has been before. And
Why is that?
I think it's a differentiation thing. I mean, the one example I always think of is if you look at forklift truck design, which kind of seems kind of random, but let's run with it.
Yeah.
So, 20 years ago, if you bought a forklift truck, it was all about loading, weight, charge times if it was an electric battery. You didn't really care what it looked like. These days, the production, a lot of it's outsourced, so there's no way that you can make money back from the production. The way you make the money back is by making it look fancy. So there's more people designing more complex, just something as innocuous as that.
Just to make it look more fancy.
Yeah, you know, if the guy's spending 15 grand to buy a new forklift truck for his warehouse, he's going to buy the fancy looking one, even though it's going to look like shit in 2 months' time.
Well, and so that actually is a really interesting point. You know, we have. I remember complaining that when SAP was first introduced at one of the companies I worked at, it was a big pain, and all of a sudden, all the stuff that the admin assistants used to do for us, now we have to do ourselves because suddenly SAP is going to make it quote unquote easy. And while I mean, I always really struggled with this idea that we should stop specializing and having one person do something really well, and then instead we should make software such that everybody can do everything. But that seems to be part of what's playing into this, at least for me. In the past, you had dedicated surfacing people, dedicated surface modeling people who were expert digital sculptors. And now it seems like more and more you want for the ground level engineers and designers to be doing their own surfacing. Is that not part of it?
Yeah. Was it more the case that those were the guys that were experts in using something like Alias, rather than the fact that they could define the geometry, they knew how to document it in the tool?
I could see that.
Yeah, anymore it's that the engineer, in my case, the designer, has to be able to make the product that is put in front of them by the customer. So the sub-D tools are making that possible. The
Well, I'm going
products
to play
are getting
devil's
more
advocate for a minute
complicated.
here. Let's say that I'm a designer. I am a designer, and I do my own surfacing. Is that better than if I'm a designer who focuses on the design aspect in whatever medium is most comfortable for me, be it sketching or clay or whatever, and then have somebody else do the craft of digital sculpting separately? It seems like there is some potential advantages and disadvantages to both of those methods.
What are the disadvantages?
What of what? Which one?
Both.
Both.
I'm doing it all
All right.
yourself.
The disadvantage of doing it all yourself is that you have. I've always believed in a separation of the guy doing the making the decisions and the guy doing the work, right? Because otherwise, the amount of work involved ends up influencing the decisions, right? If it's something really, that's a cool design, but it's really hard to surface, so I'm not going to bother. I'm going to do it the easy way. Because I'm the one doing the surfacing. Whereas if I have a surfacing guy separate from me, then I'm going to make the decisions that I think are best for the product, and then the work that has to happen has to happen. And I think that's the disadvantage to everybody. One person doing it all himself.
So it's about workload rather than...
Well, it's
anything
about
else.
workload influencing your decision.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I can see that.
Anyway, it's just a
So
thought.
who do you get to make the decisions when you're just consulting and doing all the work yourself?
I don't know. Is there some finger pointing going on? This is getting really pointed. I feel like I'm on the hot seat here for sure.
Justify your hourly rate, Adam.
Look. I do some projects where I do the whole shebang, and I just run with it from idea to factory. But then I think the more powerful situation is when I'm working with somebody else. So I have other people that I work with frequently. I have a guy in Boston I work with all the time, and I always tell him, when it comes down to it, if I'm going to be the one building the model, then you have to be the one. My partner has to be the one making the decisions, because otherwise, I will be biased by the amount of work that something's going to cause me.
So you would change the design because it adds to your workload.
Exactly. I'll make a design, whether or not I do it on purpose. I think you do subconsciously make designs that you think will be easy to execute.
In terms of documenting
of-
it as geometry, or
Yeah.
in terms of manufacturing it?
Well, I don't manufacture anything, so for me, it's documenting the geometry.
Let the other
Yeah.
f***ers sort it out.
Right? Yeah. I'll let the guys in China figure out the tooling. I don't care about that. All right, just so everybody out there who was thinking about hiring me and now is not going to hire me because apparently I don't care about manufacturing, that's not true.
Yeah. So let's get down to the business and talk about burgers. Should they be ate with a knife and fork under any circumstances?
Never, unless it's an 8-inch burger.
I have to admit, I
8
have
inches
been
wide,
corrupted.
which is the size of a pie.
I was corrupted in the UK. I actually sat down.
Hanging around in
At a
Soho
pizza
again.
parlor last night. This is not a lie. Last night, Atlas Pizza, Corning, New York, baby. I sat down and picked up my knife and fork and started eating the pizza. And my wife looked at me like,
no.
"What are you doing, you mother?"
Slap that knife out of your hand.
No, I actually, with a big sloppy burger, cutting it in half or cutting it in quarters at least first is pretty nice.
Is that socially acceptable to cut the burger in half?
It's not normal,
Yes.
but you
Well,
can get away with it.
Are you saying
San
it's
Antonio.
abnormal to cleave a burger the size of my head in half I can't pick some of that shit up. I mean, I've got big hands, you know.
Well, that's why at the good
Yeah,
restaurants they have it wrapped in paper. It holds it together.
Ah, see, I don't get to go to the fancy burger joints.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Hey-ho.
All right. I guess that's probably it, right?
A production of EVD Media.